In the vast expanse of the cosmos, where strange phenomena and ancient mysteries lurk, a diverse crew of alien species faces an unprecedented challenge. But when a human named Mike joins their ranks, they find themselves confronted with something they never expected: the unpredictable genius of a species known for its resilience and creativity. As they venture into the unknown, they discover that it is not only technology that can solve the universe's riddles, but the chaotic brilliance of human intuition. With Mike's unique perspective, the crew begins to unlock secrets that could change the course of their civilization. What begins as a simple exploration soon turns into a journey of discovery, one that will test the boundaries of science, trust, and ingenuity. In a universe of endless possibilities, could one human be the key to unlocking them all? The Star Voyager was a ship like no other, with a crew made up of various alien species, each bringing unique abilities and knowledge to their intergalactic missions. But there was something different about their newest member, Mike, a human. The captain, Czar, addressed the crew with a touch of humor, remarking that adding a human to their ranks felt like smuggling a supernova into the engine room. It wasn't just a lighthearted comment. It reflected the uncertainty and curiosity the crew felt about this human who had been assigned to them. The idea of a human aboard an advanced spaceship full of highly specialized life forms was intriguing, but also baffling. Mike was not like any other species they had encountered, and the crew was both skeptical and curious about his role on the ship. The human race, despite its fragility in comparison to other species, had earned a reputation for its remarkable adaptability and resourcefulness. Humans had a knack for surviving in extreme conditions that would overwhelm most other life forms. They had shown a unique ability to thrive under pressure, solve problems in unexpected ways, and approach challenges with a resilience that was unmatched across the galaxy. This reputation was why the Galactic Council had decided that humans should be included in every exploration vessel, especially after humans had saved entire missions by thinking outside the box when technology failed or when faced with life-threatening circumstances. Mike, it seemed, had already proven that he could survive and even excel where others might falter. In the conference room, as Captain Zur spoke, the alien crew members watched Mike closely, some with glowing eyes and others whose forms refracted light like crystalline structures. Each species had its own way of processing the universe, its own ways of understanding logic, emotion, and survival. But none of them could fully comprehend the unpredictable nature of humans. The captain was quick to explain that it was precisely this unpredictability that made humans so invaluable. Where other species relied on advanced technology or innate biological enhancements to navigate challenges, humans relied on creativity, intuition, and a kind of chaotic problem-solving that often led to unexpected solutions. Mike, as he sat in front of the crew, was not a figure of great physical strength or unique sensory abilities, but his mind held the potential for breakthroughs none of them could predict. Despite the crew's skepticism, Captain Czar was firm in his belief that Mike could bring something important to their mission. He explained that humans had a unique ability to improvise and find solutions to problems that didn't fit into logical, predetermined categories. Their ability to think outside the box, to make connections where others saw none, was what made them valuable. Mike, with his trademark grin and relaxed posture, wasn't just a token addition to the crew. His presence represented a new approach to intergalactic challenges, one that combined logic with creativity and intuition. As the crew digested this, they began to realize that Mike wasn't here just to observe, but to actively contribute in ways they hadn't fully grasped yet. Though the crew had their doubts, there was a subtle shift in the atmosphere as they began to acknowledge that Mike's presence might not be as problematic as they had initially feared. His laid-back attitude and ability to remain unfazed in such a tense environment were qualities the crew found intriguing. They started to see him not as an outsider, but as a potential asset who could offer a fresh perspective. The question of why Mike was here, initially an irritant to some, slowly began to transform into a feeling of curiosity and hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, this human could turn out to be the key to solving the very challenges they had always relied on their technology and expertise to navigate. Humans, despite their relatively fragile physical forms compared to other species, had earned a reputation across the galaxy for their exceptional resilience. This resilience was not just physical. It extended to their mental and emotional fortitude as well. In the face of immense pressure and seemingly insurmountable odds, humans had demonstrated an uncanny ability to adapt and survive. This adaptability made them particularly valuable in the unpredictable environments of deep space, where most species struggled to cope with extreme conditions. Human beings were not built for brute strength or specialized sensory abilities like some of the alien species the crew was familiar with. Instead, they had evolved with a remarkable flexibility, both in body and mind, which allowed them to tackle challenges from angles that other species couldn't. One of the most remarkable aspects of humanity was their creativity. In contrast to the more rigid and specialized species of the galaxy, humans had developed an intelligence that thrived on innovation. While many species could rely on instincts or technology tailored to specific environments, humans had developed the ability to solve problems using unorthodox methods. Their capacity to see patterns where others saw none, and their ability to improvise when standard solutions failed, was part of what made them so valuable. The crew of the Star Voyager had come to realize that the unique quality humans brought to the table wasn't just their physical toughness, but their mental ingenuity and their approach to complex problems in unpredictable ways. This creativity was not just about inventing new technology or building new tools. It was about using existing resources in novel ways. Humans had a knack for finding solutions through trial and error, and often, their failures were just as valuable as their successes. For many species, failure was seen as a setback, a loss. But for humans, it was often an opportunity to learn, adapt, and ultimately succeed in ways that others might not even consider. This ability to continuously adapt and innovate, no matter the circumstances, was what set humans apart from other species. It made them the perfect wild card in situations where even the most advanced technologies and strategies failed. The Galactic Council, aware of these qualities, had made it a point to recommend the inclusion of human crew members on all exploration vessels. This policy came after several missions where human crew members had turned what seemed like certain disaster into miraculous successes. In many instances, it was the human crew member who had been able to think creatively when the ship's technology failed or when faced with hostile or unknown situations. The Council had observed that while other species were brilliant in their own ways, humans had an intuitive grasp of how to handle chaos, something that made them indispensable when venturing into the unknown. The Star Voyager, with its highly specialized alien crew, was a testament to the value of diversity in the face of danger. However, it was clear that the inclusion of a human was not just a bureaucratic decision. It was a recognition of the unique advantages humans brought to the table. The crew's initial skepticism was gradually replaced by a growing understanding that humans were not only survivors, but they were also capable of reshaping the way challenges in space exploration were approached. Their intuition and creativity were seen as valuable assets in ways the crew had yet to fully comprehend, but which would soon become apparent as they ventured further into the unknown with Mike aboard. The captain's voice resonated through the ship's conference room as he continued to explain the human presence on board. His tone shifted from humorous to more serious as he highlighted the unpredictable but invaluable qualities humans brought to missions. Captain Czar emphasized that one of the most remarkable traits of humans was their ability to improvise in situations where everything else seemed to fail. He referred to an incident involving an asteroid field that had nearly destroyed a previous crew, but it was a human on board who had figured out how to manipulate the gravitational fields to sling them out of danger. This quick thinking and ability to act when traditional methods were insufficient was something other species struggled to understand. The captain's words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of human potential. Despite Czar's explanation, there were still skeptics in the room. Expo Ajan, whose crystalline structure refracted light and cast shimmering patterns on the walls, was particularly vocal in his confusion. The Yanni were beings of pure logic, unyielding in their need for clarity and efficiency. To them, the human way of thinking was alien and unpredictable. Expo couldn't fathom why a species so prone to chaos and error would be an asset in space exploration. The idea of relying on intuition and improvisation, especially in situations that could result in the destruction of their ship, was not something that sat well with him. His frustration with the human presence was palpable, but there was a hint of curiosity beneath it, a curiosity that even Expo couldn't fully suppress. As the murmurs of skepticism buzzed through the room, Mike sat quietly, absorbing the tension. His posture was relaxed, a stark contrast to the rest of the crew, who were still adjusting to his presence. With a slight grin on his face, Mike responded to Czar's statement about human intuition. He dismissed the idea of having psychic powers, a notion that had been floated by some members of the crew. Instead, he explained that it wasn't about magic or some mysterious force. It was simply a combination of trial and error, learned experience, and a bit of luck. The crew was fascinated, yet still unsure about how far this explanation could go in the face of real danger. The concept of intuition, so foreign to the other species, was something Mike had grown up with and perfected. It was the kind of thing that humans didn't always acknowledge as special, but to the aliens, it was nothing short of miraculous. Where species like the Yanni thrived on rigid, logical thinking, Mike's strength lay in his ability to perceive patterns, solve problems, and navigate unpredictable situations with a combination of instinct and reasoning. The Star Voyager had faced many challenges before, relying on technology or brute force, but this mission would require something different, a level of adaptability that only Mike, and humans like him, could bring. As the discussion progressed, the crew slowly began to shift from skepticism to intrigue. While Mike was still a source of confusion for many, the evidence of his abilities could not be ignored. The crew had already seen how he interacted with the data, how his eyes seemed to pick out patterns others missed. His ability to take an abstract problem and break it down into solvable steps was becoming clearer by the minute. Even Expo, who had initially dismissed Mike's presence, began to see that there might be something to this human way of thinking. The crew's doubts had not been fully erased, but the seeds of curiosity had been planted, and there was a new, cautious optimism about the role Mike could play in the upcoming mission. The mission ahead for the Star Voyager was not just another routine exploration. It was a journey into the unknown, one that could determine the fate of the entire crew. Captain Czar revealed the nature of their next mission, a salvage operation on the twin moons of Garrick. This wasn't a standard mission by any means. The last 3 crews that had attempted similar missions had vanished without a trace. There were rumors and speculation among the galaxy's explorers about these moons, and most of it pointed to one alarming possibility: a tech trap. These traps were dangerous zones where advanced technology inexplicably malfunctioned, often resulting in the loss of entire crews and ships. The crew of the Star Voyager would be heading straight into what could very well be a death trap, making Mike's presence on the ship more important than ever. Tech traps were a well-known hazard in space exploration, and their causes were as varied as the galaxy itself. Some believed they were the result of alien defense mechanisms set to protect ancient ruins or sensitive areas. Others speculated they were due to natural cosmic phenomena or the malfunctioning remnants of long-forgotten technologies. Regardless of the origin, the crew knew one thing for sure: tech traps could disable their equipment, rendering them vulnerable in the most hostile environments. Mike's ability to think beyond the standard protocols and look for unconventional solutions was now a crucial factor in the success of the mission. As Czar outlined the mission's objective, the crew's tension grew. This would not be a simple venture, and failure could mean their disappearance, just like those who came before. The team gathered around the holographic display of the mission's trajectory, watching as it illuminated with the planned route toward the moons. The captain's voice was steady, but there was an undercurrent of urgency in his words as he emphasized how critical Mike's skills would be. The past crews had all been well-equipped with advanced technology, but it hadn't been enough to save them from the deadly traps they encountered. Now, the crew needed more than just machines. They needed human ingenuity. Mike, ever calm and collected, suggested they start by analyzing the data they had about the previous expeditions. While many of the crew were still skeptical, they understood that Mike's unique approach to problem-solving was their best chance to navigate the dangerous unknowns of the mission. Mike's first action was to dive into the data from the previous expeditions, scanning the records for any signs of patterns. As he sifted through the raw data, his mind worked quickly, noting subtle anomalies that the ship's AI and the other crew members had missed. It was a small detail, an energy fluctuation pattern that didn't make sense with the rest of the readings. Mike's eyes lit up as he honed in on it, realizing that the fluctuations could be the signature of the tech traps, a clue that could reveal how to avoid them. He suggested that these tech traps might not be entirely hostile or random, but could potentially be some sort of test or challenge. His theory was revolutionary. What if the traps were designed to assess the intelligence or worthiness of those who encountered them, rather than merely acting as barriers to entry? The crew listened in rapt attention as Mike explained his theory. His insight into the patterns of the tech traps opened new possibilities for the mission. If the traps were in fact a form of cosmic test, then there might be a way to approach them without triggering their destructive effects. The idea that the traps were not just obstacles to be avoided, but rather challenges to be solved, was a revelation. It added an entirely new layer of strategy to the mission. For the first time, the crew began to feel that there might be a way through this, a way to outwit the dangers that had claimed the lives of so many before them. Mike's suggestion to look for patterns and anomalies, to think of the tech traps as puzzles rather than threats, shifted the entire dynamic of the mission. The crew no longer felt as though they were walking into an inevitable disaster, but were instead stepping into a challenge that could be overcome with the right mindset and approach. As the Star Voyager neared the twin moons of Garrick, the atmosphere aboard the ship became tense with anticipation. The crew, having just passed through the first phase of their approach without incident, knew that the true test was about to begin. The ship's instruments began to flicker, signaling that they were getting closer to a tech trap. The low hum that reverberated through the hull was a clear indicator of the impending danger. The crew held their breath, knowing that Mike's hypothesis was about to be tested under real conditions. In this critical moment, there was no room for error, and the fate of the mission rested heavily on Mike's ability to predict and navigate the traps. The captain's voice was steady, yet it carried an urgency that was impossible to ignore as he turned to Mike, saying, "Mike, it's on you now." The crew looked to the human member of their team, relying on his instincts and skills to guide them safely through the trap. Mike didn't hesitate. His eyes narrowed with focus, and his fingers moved swiftly across his handheld device, analyzing the fluctuations they had detected in the data. He was attempting to synchronize their approach with the variations he had identified earlier. If his calculations were correct, they could pass through the tech trap without triggering its deadly effects. With a quiet confidence, he made adjustments to the ship's trajectory, ensuring they moved in harmony with the patterns he had observed. As the ship approached the critical point, the crew fell silent, watching the readings and waiting for any sign that they had triggered the trap. The hum of the ship grew louder, and for a moment, it seemed as though time had slowed down. The tension in the air was palpable, and everyone aboard the Star Voyager knew that the next few moments would determine their fate. Then, in a flash, the noise stopped, and the ship passed through the tech trap unscathed. The crew released a collective breath, their faces lighting up with relief. They had done it. The first phase of their mission had been successfully navigated, and Mike's insight had proven invaluable. It was a small victory, but it was a crucial one that gave the crew a renewed sense of hope. They exchanged congratulatory gestures, but the celebration was short-lived. They were still in the danger zone, and the next phase of the mission promised to be even more challenging. As the Star Voyager entered orbit around the first moon, a new problem presented itself. A dense fog-like energy field had enveloped the surface of the moon, making navigation difficult. This fog had been invisible from a distance but now appeared as a swirling, disorienting mass that distorted their sensors and obscured their view. Mike, ever observant and quick-thinking, immediately recognized that this fog was not just a natural phenomenon. It was likely another form of tech trap designed to confuse and disorient those who entered it. The fog seemed alive, responding to any attempt to penetrate it, shifting and changing with every movement. The crew watched as Mike analyzed the energy composition of the fog, his handheld scanner emitting a low whereas it gathered data. His face grew serious as he examined the results. "It's not just interference," Mike muttered to himself. It's a dynamic maze. The path changes in real time, responding to any attempt to navigate through it. His words sent a ripple of concern through the crew. They had faced numerous dangers before, but this was unlike anything they had ever encountered. The fog seemed to be a moving, living puzzle, shifting and rearranging itself to prevent them from finding a way through. After a moment of contemplation, Mike's face lit up with an idea. His intuition had kicked in, and he knew exactly how to approach this new challenge. Rather than attempting to find a way through the fog, he suggested they make the fog show them the way. It was a bold idea, but one that only someone with a human's ability to think creatively could have conceived. Mike quickly began setting up a series of drones, each programmed to emit a range of frequencies. As the drones flew into the fog, the energy field began to react. The fog shifted in response to the stimuli, creating a clear path toward the moon's surface. It was as if the fog was dancing with the drones, following the lead of the frequencies they emitted. "It's like a dance," Mike explained, his voice filled with excitement. "Lead properly, and your partner follows." The crew watched in awe as the fog parted before them, revealing a clear route down to the moon's surface. With the path through the fog cleared, the crew prepared for landing. As the Star Voyager descended toward the moon, the dense energy field parted around them like a curtain, unveiling a new world below. The surface of the moon was unlike anything they had expected. Ruins of an ancient civilization lay scattered across the landscape, their structures and technologies a testament to a forgotten era of advanced knowledge. As the crew stepped out onto the surface, they were greeted by a sense of awe and wonder. The fog, once an obstacle, had revealed the entrance to a lost world, and it was Mike's ingenuity that had led them to it. The moon's surface, now visible in all its eerie grandeur, was the beginning of the next chapter in their exploration. The crew had made it past the tech traps, and now they stood on the threshold of discovering the secrets of the twin moons of Garrick. As the crew of the Star Voyager made their way through the fog and onto the surface of the first moon of Garrick, they were met with an atmosphere charged with anticipation. The fog had parted like a curtain, revealing the alien landscape, and the sight before them was nothing short of extraordinary. The surface was covered with ruins, ancient, weathered structures that suggested the remains of a once thriving civilization. The architecture was unlike anything the crew had ever seen. There were massive stone pillars, intricately carved symbols, and large, circular platforms scattered across the barren terrain. These ruins were not just remnants of a forgotten world. They were a testament to an advanced society that had mastered the natural energies of the moon itself. The team couldn't help but wonder what had happened to this civilization and what secrets were hidden within these long-abandoned structures. Mike, ever the inquisitive human, immediately began to analyze the layout of the ruins. His curiosity was piqued, and his natural instinct to find patterns and connections kicked in. As he walked among the decaying remnants of the alien city, he couldn't help but notice the way the structures seemed to be in perfect harmony with the moon's natural energy flows. It wasn't just the physical design of the buildings that intrigued him. It was the way they seemed to resonate with the environment around them. Notice how the structures align perfectly with the natural ley lines of the moon, Mike pointed out to Captain Czar, his voice filled with a mixture of awe and realization. He had no scientific proof, but his human sensibilities could sense the underlying connection between the architecture and the energy patterns of the moon. These people used the natural energy of their environment, not just technology, he added, his words echoing in the stillness of the ruins. To him, this was more than a mere discovery. It was a lesson in the harmony between nature and technology. As Mike and the rest of the crew delved deeper into the ruins, they began to understand that the tech traps they had encountered on the moon weren't just defensive mechanisms designed to keep intruders away. Instead, it became clear that these traps were part of a much more complex system, a kind of gatekeeping mechanism. The ancient civilization that had built this city had not only designed their technology to protect their secrets, but to challenge those who sought to uncover them. It seemed as though the entire moon was a test, designed to provoke learning and adaptation in those who came seeking knowledge. For most species in the galaxy, this kind of challenge would be seen as a threat, but for humans, it was an opportunity to think outside the box, to adapt, and to solve problems in ways that others could not. This was where Mike's unique abilities came into play, and the crew began to see just how invaluable his presence was. The more they explored, the more they realized that the technology left behind by this ancient civilization was not meant to be hoarded or hidden, but rather shared, if one could prove themselves worthy of it. As they ventured further into the heart of the ruins, the crew stumbled upon a large, central chamber. The door to this chamber was unlike any they had encountered so far. It was massive, adorned with strange symbols that seemed to pulse with an inviting light. The door itself appeared to be an artifact, an ancient mechanism that required interaction to open. Mike, driven by his natural curiosity, approached the door, his mind racing with possibilities. He studied the symbols carefully, sensing that they were not merely decorative but functional, interactive in some way. "These symbols are like nothing we've seen before," Mike said, tracing one with his finger. "They're not just for decoration. They're part of the system that controls the door. They might be a code, a sequence that needs to be unlocked." The crew watched as Mike experimented, trying different gestures and inputs. As he touched one of the symbols, the door began to resonate with a low hum. The sound grew in intensity, and to everyone's amazement, the massive door slowly slid open, revealing what lay beyond. Inside the chamber, the crew was met with a sight that exceeded even their highest expectations. The room was filled with light, and a vast array of intact technology stood before them. This was no ordinary room. It was a treasure trove of knowledge and innovation, filled with devices that manipulated gravity, holograms that played out scenes from the moon's history, and crystal archives containing vast amounts of information. The technology was unlike anything they had ever encountered. It was clear that the civilization that had built this place had achieved levels of understanding and mastery over the universe that far surpassed anything the crew had ever imagined. "Looks like we were meant to find this place," Captain Zer said, his voice full of awe. Mike nodded in agreement, but his expression was more thoughtful. This was more than just a scientific discovery for him. It was a legacy left behind by a civilization that had understood the deeper connections between technology, nature, and the cosmos. It was now up to the crew to uncover what had happened to this society, and more importantly, to learn from it, so that their knowledge and achievements would not be lost to time. As the crew of the Star Voyager explored the vast, enigmatic chamber within the ruins, they realized that what they were witnessing wasn't just a relic of an ancient civilization. It was a well-preserved treasure trove of knowledge and technology. Each piece of technology they encountered seemed to be a bridge to the past, a portal into a world long gone. Among the artifacts were devices that could manipulate gravity, alter the flow of energy, and even generate holograms that recreated the history of the twin moons. The technology was advanced, beyond anything the crew had ever seen. What struck them most, however, was the sense that this was not just about machinery or scientific achievement. It was about something much more profound, something that tied the civilization's advancements to the cosmos itself. Mike, the human crew member, was especially drawn to the holograms. These weren't just simple projections. They were vivid, interactive scenes that seemed to bring the past to life. As the crew gathered around one of the holographic displays, a scene from the moon's history began to unfold before them. They saw the inhabitants of the moon, tall and ethereal, working in harmony with the energy around them. The holograms showed the civilization's rise to greatness, how they had harnessed the natural forces of their environment and created technologies that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Mike observed with a keen eye, noting the similarities between the energy flows depicted in the holograms and the architecture they had seen outside. "This was a society that understood something we don't yet grasp," he said, his voice filled with awe. "They didn't just build machines. They built a way of life, a system that harmonized technology with the very forces of nature." The more they explored the chamber, the more the crew realized that the technology was not just about progress. It was about balance. The archives of knowledge stored in crystal devices revealed that the civilization had achieved a level of understanding that transcended mere technological advancement. They had learned to live in sync with the universe, to use their creations not as tools to dominate or control, but to foster harmony and growth. The knowledge stored in the crystals was not just about power or control, it was about enlightenment. Mike, with his human ability to see connections that others might miss, started to piece together the bigger picture. He began to see that the civilization's downfall wasn't the result of a catastrophic technological failure, but rather a failure to maintain the balance they had so carefully cultivated. They didn't just create technology to survive. They created it to thrive, to coexist with their surroundings, Mike said thoughtfully. With the discovery of these ancient technologies and their underlying philosophy, the crew was left with a profound responsibility. They had uncovered something far greater than any of them had anticipated, a legacy left behind by a civilization that had mastered the art of living in harmony with the cosmos. This wasn't just about learning from the past. It was about ensuring that the knowledge they had uncovered would not be lost again. The crew knew that this information had the potential to revolutionize their understanding of energy, technology, and the universe itself. However, they also understood that such knowledge came with great responsibility. As they began the process of cataloging and preserving the artifacts, they took care to ensure that nothing was damaged or lost. The task was immense, and every member of the crew, including Mike, worked with the sense of duty that came with being the stewards of this newfound wisdom. As they finished their work in the chamber, the crew prepared to leave the moons of Garrick, knowing that their journey had led them to an extraordinary discovery. They had found more than just advanced technology. They had found a philosophy, a way of living that could potentially change the course of their civilizations. Mike, in particular, felt a deep sense of connection to the legacy of the civilization. He had always believed that the greatest discoveries weren't just about the facts and data. They were about the lessons learned and the ways in which those lessons could be applied. With the knowledge they had gathered, the Star Voyager crew was not just heading home with new technology. They were bringing back a new way of understanding the universe. The journey had been transformative, not just for the crew, but for Mike, who had always known that curiosity and a willingness to learn could unlock the greatest mysteries of all. With the mission now far beyond its original scope, the crew of Star Voyager began the process of cataloging and analyzing the extraordinary technologies and knowledge they had uncovered in the central chamber of the Twin Moons. Mike, more than anyone else, had played a pivotal role in their success. His intuitive understanding of patterns and his ability to see solutions in places others couldn't even begin to look were proving invaluable. As the crew worked tirelessly, Mike collaborated with the ship's AI, diving deep into the data they had gathered from the ancient archives. Each discovery seemed to unlock new possibilities, offering glimpses into a level of technological and philosophical understanding that could alter the trajectory of their own civilization. The crew knew that they were not just charting the unknown. They were standing on the precipice of an entirely new era of exploration and discovery. One of the key revelations from the Crystal Archives was the detailed records of the civilization's philosophy on energy manipulation. The inhabitants of the Twin Moons had not only advanced technologically, but had done so with a deep understanding of energy's relationship to all living things. Mike was especially intrigued by this concept, recognizing that it was a direct contrast to how many species, humans included, tended to think of energy as a resource to be harvested or controlled. The ancient civilization, however, viewed energy as something to be respected, something that flowed naturally through all matter and life. Their technologies had been designed to harmonize with these natural energy flows, creating a balance between their creations and the cosmos. Mike saw a parallel between this philosophy and the challenges they had faced during their mission. Just as they had to adapt to the ever-changing tech traps and energy fields, so too had this civilization navigated the intricacies of the universe with a blend of respect and innovation. As they delved deeper into the archives, the crew began to realize that the civilization's downfall was tied to their inability to maintain this balance. The data indicated that at some point, the civilization had become too focused on technological advancement and had lost sight of the harmony they had once achieved. The archives painted a picture of a society that had become fragmented, their advancements turning against them as they pushed the boundaries of their knowledge without considering the consequences. Mike reflected on this tragic aspect of the civilization's story, understanding that their mistakes could offer valuable lessons for the Star Voyager crew. "We don't just need to learn how to use this technology," he said. "We need to learn how to live with it, to understand it, and to avoid repeating the mistakes they made." His insight resonated deeply with the crew, as it was a reminder that true progress wasn't just about what could be achieved, but about how those achievements were used to benefit all life. The crew was also beginning to realize that their mission was no longer just about gathering artifacts. It was about preserving a legacy. They were not just explorers. They were caretakers of a history that had been lost to time. The responsibility weighed heavily on their minds, especially as they continued to uncover more devices, each one more complex and sophisticated than the last. The crew's primary goal now was to ensure that this knowledge would be shared and used responsibly, that it wouldn't fall into the wrong hands. The technology they had uncovered was far too powerful to be used recklessly. As they carefully documented the devices and translated more of the crystal archives, they considered the impact this knowledge could have on their own civilizations. The potential for advancements in energy, communication, and space travel was immense, but they were all keenly aware that with such power came the potential for abuse. As the Star Voyager prepared to leave the twin moons and return to the Galactic Council, the crew knew they were bringing back more than just technological wonders. They were returning with a philosophical framework that could help guide their future. Mike's unique ability to see beyond the surface of things had helped them unlock not just the secrets of the ancient civilization, but also the deeper meanings behind their creations. It was clear to everyone aboard that Mike, in his way, had become a bridge between the ancient past and the present. His insight, his curiosity, and his capacity for improvisation had been the catalyst for their success. As the crew reflected on their accomplishments, they understood that this mission had not just been about finding ancient technology. It had been about learning to understand and respect the universe in a way that would forever change how they approached their own future. As the mission reached its conclusion, the crew of the Star Voyager had not only uncovered groundbreaking technologies, but had also unearthed profound truths about the universe. With their exploration of the twin moons of Garrick now complete, the crew felt a mix of triumph and reflection. The technology they had discovered promised to revolutionize their own worlds, advancing their understanding of energy, matter, and cosmic harmony. But beyond the material discoveries, the crew had gained a deeper understanding of themselves, particularly in how their individual strengths had contributed to the mission's success. Mike, the human member of the crew, had been instrumental in making sense of the seemingly chaotic tech traps and patterns, guiding the crew through obstacles that had baffled even the most advanced species. Mike's intuition, pattern recognition, and unique problem-solving skills have played a crucial role in navigating the challenges of the twin moons. His ability to view the universe through a lens of creativity and adaptability had complemented the more specialized skills of the other crew members. His contributions weren't just about intellectual feats. They were about the human touch that had been vital to their success. While many of the species aboard the Star Voyager had exceptional technological capabilities or innate skills, it was Mike's creativity and willingness to think outside the box that had led to breakthrough solutions. His knack for improvisation, honed by his human experience, had often been the difference between success and failure. The crew had seen firsthand how their differences, once seen as obstacles, had become their greatest assets. Each species brought something unique to the table, from the telepathic abilities of the Trilon to the unwavering logic of the Jan, and even the humans' unpredictable ingenuity. The mission had not only been a success because of the advanced technology they had recovered, but because the crew learned to work together as an integrated whole. Mike's presence had transformed the crew's dynamic, reminding them that true strength came from diversity and collaboration. It was this synergy that had allowed them to overcome the tech traps, decode the ancient knowledge, and solve the mysteries of the moons of Garrick. As the Star Voyager set its course for home, the crew felt a renewed sense of purpose. They knew that the information they had gathered would change the course of history, but they also recognized the responsibility that came with it. The knowledge they had uncovered wasn't just a discovery, It was a legacy. They were the caretakers of that legacy, tasked with ensuring that this knowledge would be shared and used wisely. As Captain Zur looked over at Mike, a smile formed on his non-human face. They all knew that this mission had been extraordinary, but it was the lessons they had learned from each other and the unexpected bond they had formed that would truly shape their future endeavors. They were no longer just explorers. They were guardians of the unknown, united by their shared experiences and the uncharted journey that lay ahead. As the Star Voyager made its way back to the Galactic Council, the crew reflected on the profound journey they had just experienced. The discovery of the ancient civilization's technology was a landmark achievement, but it was not just the physical knowledge they had gathered that left a lasting impact on them. It was the deeper lessons about humanity, creativity, and the importance of adaptability in the face of the unknown. The human crew member, Mike, had proven that the unpredictable nature of humanity was not a weakness, but a powerful asset. His innovative solutions and unique approach to problems had changed the way the crew viewed their own strengths and weaknesses. The technology they had uncovered was undoubtedly extraordinary, but Mike's ability to think in ways no other species could have been just as valuable. His knack for improvisation, his ability to spot patterns in chaos, and his capacity to look at problems from different perspectives had helped the crew navigate obstacles that would have otherwise been insurmountable. Through him, they realized that sometimes the best solutions didn't come from the most advanced technology, but from the simplest, most creative ideas. The success of the mission had not been determined by raw power or sheer intellect alone, but by the crew's willingness to embrace the unpredictable nature of their human companion. This new understanding of the human spirit and its potential to drive innovation made the crew reconsider how they approach challenges in the vast unknown. They had learned that the best way to face the unknown wasn't always through brute force or advanced tools, but through a blend of creativity, intuition, and collaboration. The crew had begun to see themselves as more than just a collection of diverse species. They had become a team that relied on each other's strengths, with each member bringing something irreplaceable to the table. In Mike, they had found a bridge between the known and the unknown, between logic and creativity, making them stronger as a unit. As they journeyed home, Captain Zur found himself thinking about the larger implications of their discovery. They hadn't just found a treasure trove of knowledge and technology. They had found a way forward for the galaxy. The technology they had uncovered could transform entire civilizations, but the lessons they had learned from the mission would transform them all. For the first time in a long while, Captain Zur realized that the universe was a much bigger and more wondrous place than they had ever imagined. With Mike's contribution, the Star Voyager crew had not only uncovered the past, they had set the stage for a future full of endless possibilities. As the Star Voyager made its way back to the Galactic Council, the crew felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. What had started as a perilous mission to investigate mysterious tech traps on the twin moons of Garrick had evolved into a journey of discovery, both of ancient technology and their own potential. Captain Zur, who had once doubted the value of having a human on board, now found himself profoundly grateful for Mike's presence. The unexpected brilliance of his intuition, problem-solving skills, and ability to think outside the box had proven invaluable. For Zur and the rest of the crew, Mike's contributions had been a key factor in transforming what could have been a mission of failure into one of success. The crew's admiration for Mike grew with each passing day. His approach to challenges was unlike any other, offering creative solutions that balance both risk and reward. His ability to spot patterns and adapt quickly to unpredictable situations was something that the other members of the crew had come to rely on. While some species aboard the Star Voyager excelled in raw strength, logic, or telepathic abilities, Mike's ingenuity had bridged gaps and solved problems that technology alone could not overcome. This realization marked a turning point for the crew, who had previously underestimated the value of human creativity. It became clear that in an ever-changing universe, it was not only the advanced technologies that mattered, but also the unpredictable genius of a human mind. The success of the mission also opened up new avenues for the crew to explore. The data and technology they had retrieved from the twin moons of Garrick were groundbreaking, and their potential was limitless. But the real value of the mission lay in the collaborative process that had taken place. Each crew member had brought their own expertise to the table, but it was the combination of diverse skills, both technological and intuitive, that had allowed them to conquer the challenges they faced. Mike's presence was a testament to the power of blending different strengths. His human perspective had balanced the logical, methodical approaches of the other species, showing that true success in exploration lay in unity and the pooling of varied talents. As the Star Voyager headed back to the Galactic Council, the crew understood that their mission had gone far beyond the retrieval of ancient artifacts. They had uncovered a truth that transcended technology, the value of diversity in thought and experience. Mike had proven that sometimes the greatest discoveries are not made through the most advanced tools, but through the creative application of knowledge and collaboration. The universe, they realized, was not a place to be conquered through sheer power, but a vast, intricate puzzle that required all minds, no matter how different, to come together. With this newfound wisdom, the Star Voyager crew knew that they would be ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. As the Star Voyager cruised through the vastness of space, heading back to the Galactic Council, the crew was filled with a sense of reflection and pride. The mission to the twin moons of Garrick had been far more than a simple expedition. It had become a profound journey that had changed the way they viewed their roles in the universe. The crew, diverse in species and expertise, had learned that their collective strength came not only from their abilities, but from the unique contributions of each member. Mike, the human, had proven that the unpredictable, creative spirit of humanity could hold the key to overcoming challenges that even advanced technology could not. Captain Czar, once skeptical of humans, now found himself deeply appreciative of Mike's contribution. The humans' unconventional thinking had not only solved the complex problems they faced, but had also bridged gaps between different species in ways that had been previously unimaginable. Mike's ability to improvise, adapt, and think beyond the obvious had changed the entire dynamic of the crew. His unique perspective had shown them that sometimes it wasn't the most sophisticated technology or the most logical plan that led to success, but rather an open mind and a willingness to explore the unknown. Czar realized that the inclusion of a human on board wasn't just a strategic decision. It was a crucial asset to the success of their missions. The crew, in turn, also began to see their mission in a new light. The technology they had discovered on the moons of Garrick was groundbreaking, offering insights into cosmic harmony, energy manipulation, and advanced technology that could revolutionize their civilizations. But it was the process of learning and adapting, of using their collective ingenuity and creativity, that had truly defined their success. They had learned that the challenges they faced were not just obstacles to overcome. They were opportunities for growth, both as individuals and as a team. The crew had gained a new appreciation for the value of diversity, of thinking differently, and of working together in unexpected ways. As they neared the Galactic Council, Captain Czar couldn't help but feel a deep sense of pride for his crew. They had not only completed a mission of immense importance, but had also discovered something far greater: the power of human creativity and adaptability. Czar knew that the legacy of this mission would extend far beyond the data and technology they had gathered. It was the lesson that in an unpredictable and ever-changing universe, it was not only strength and intelligence that mattered, but also the courage to embrace the unknown, to rely on each other's strengths, and to value the contributions of all, no matter how unexpected. The Star Voyager had returned home, not only as a vessel filled with knowledge, but as a symbol of unity and possibility, ready to face whatever the future might hold.